Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Mona's English Studio, the podcast where we help you understand real spoken English in a simple, clear, and friendly way so that you can feel more confident when listening and speaking in everyday life.
Hello, friends. We are very happy to have you with us today. And if you enjoy learning English through real conversations and natural British expressions, this podcast is made especially for you.
Before we begin today's episode, we kindly ask you to subscribe to Mona's English Studio because your support helps us continue creating simple and useful English lessons for learners all around the world.
Yes, please subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and share it with your friends who are learning English, so that they can also improve their listening and speaking skills step by step.
Now, let us relax, listen carefully, and enjoy today's topic, which is all about how British people really talk about the weather in daily life. Noah, let me start by asking you something that many learners often wonder about, which is why British people talk about the weather so much compared to people in other countries.
That is a very good question, Mona, and the answer is actually quite simple, because the weather in the UK changes very often, sometimes even several times, in one single day.
That is very true, because you can wake up in the morning and see sunshine, then suddenly notice dark clouds, and a short time later it might start raining without any warning.
Exactly. And because the weather is so unpredictable, people naturally talk about it, notice it, complain about it, or even joke about it when they meet someone.
Weather becomes a shared experience because everyone is feeling the same rain, the same cold wind, or the same sudden sunshine.
That is why it feels safe to talk about the weather, because it does not involve personal opinions, strong emotions, or uncomfortable topics.
Yes, talking about the weather is polite, friendly, and socially acceptable, especially when speaking to strangers or people you do not know very well.
In Britain, weather talk is often used as a way to say hello without directly saying hello, and it helps to create a comfortable atmosphere between people.
Let us now talk about how British people usually start conversations using the weather, especially in everyday situations like buses, shops, offices, or lifts.
When a British person wants to start a conversation, they often mention the weather first because it feels natural and does not require too much thinking.
For example, if someone enters an office in the morning, they might say something like, "It's quite cold today, isn't it?" while taking off their coat.
Yes, and the other person usually agrees or adds something, such as saying that the weather has been strange lately or that winter seems to be arriving early this year.
This kind of conversation is not about finding deep information, but about connecting politely and showing friendliness.
Exactly. And that is why weather talk is very important for learners to understand, especially if they want to sound natural and polite in British English.
Now, Noah, we cannot talk about British weather without talking about rain, because rain is probably the most famous part of the UK's weather.
That is absolutely true, Mona, because rain is something British people experience very often, and they have many different ways of talking about it.
British people rarely say simply, "It is raining," because they often describe the rain in a more interesting or expressive way.
Yes, for example, they might say that it is drizzling, which means that the rain is light and gentle, but still annoying enough to notice.
They might also say that it is pouring, which means the rain is very heavy and falling very fast, making it difficult to walk outside.
Sometimes people say that it is spitting, which means only a few drops of rain are falling, but it feels like proper rain might start soon.
These expressions help people explain exactly what kind of rain they are experiencing, and they make the conversation feel more natural and real. Another interesting thing about British weather talk is that people often complain about the weather, but in a very polite and calm way.
Yes, British people are famous for polite complaints, and weather complaints are usually gentle, friendly, and even a little humorous.
For example, instead of saying, I hate this weather, they might say something like, It's not the best weather today, is it?
That kind of sentence sounds soft and polite, and it invites the other person to agree without sounding negative or rude.
British people also complain about the weather changing too quickly, especially when they feel unprepared for it.
They might say that they left the house without an umbrella because it was sunny, and now suddenly it has started raining.
Now let us talk about sunshine. Because when the sun comes out in Britain, people notice it immediately and talk about it with excitement.
Yes, sunshine is often treated like a special event, especially after several days of rain or cloudy skies.
When it is sunny, British people might say things like, It's actually quite nice today, which shows pleasant surprise.
They may also talk about making plans, such as going for a walk, sitting in the garden, or having a cup of tea outside.
Sunshine often improves people's mood, and this change in mood can clearly be heard in the way they talk.
Yes, people sound happier, lighter, and more relaxed when the weather is good, and this is reflected in their conversations.
British people also talk a lot about temperature, especially when it feels unusually cold or surprisingly warm.
When it is cold, people often mention it in a calm way, such as saying that it feels chilly or that winter is definitely on its way.
They might also talk about wearing extra layers, scarves, or gloves, and how difficult it is to stay warm.
On the other hand, when it is hot, British people often sound shocked because extreme heat is not very common in the UK.
They may say things like, It's too hot for this country, or talk about how uncomfortable the heat feels. We have now come to the end of today's episode, and we really hope you enjoyed listening and learning how British people naturally talk about the weather in everyday situations.
We hope this conversation helped you understand real English more easily and gave you confidence to use simple weather expressions when speaking with others.
If you found this episode helpful, please do not forget to subscribe to Mona's English Studio, because we share new English conversations and useful lessons regularly.
Also, remember to like this episode and share it with anyone who wants to improve their English in a calm and simple way.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today, and we truly appreciate your support and your love for learning English.
We will be back very soon with another interesting topic and more real English conversations. So until then, take care and keep practicing.
This is Mona.
And this is Noah.
Thank you for listening to Mona's English Studio, and see you next time.